Hey there. Gosh, Songwriting 101, Part 2. Part 1 we did back in, back in January of last year. I can't believe it. I was just gave the video a quick look-see just to see how it ended, because I don't even remember. That's the one that Chef Mike was in. And we ended it with that, it was a yellow room with a crooked floor as just a piece of a lyric, and it was to be continued in part 2, and here we are a year later, and you know, that year went by really quick, and I'm finally getting back to the song itself. Actually, the song is pretty much completed now. The lyrics are complete. The song, the melody, everything. It's not been recorded yet, but occasionally I sit down and play it. Why don't you all just wake me up when it's over? Oh. And it's been a year since that last video on Songwriting 101. It's probably been at least that long since I've combed my hair. I just had to splash. I probably have water splashes on my shirt, but I slicked back my hair with some water just to make myself look semi-presentable for this occasion. I need a haircut and a shave and some personal hygiene to attend. I've got to attend to that, but that'll be another story. So, songwriting, it's gonna go off on some tangents. We kind of talked, I think, in the first video last year about the different ingredients that go into a song, and I'm kind of probably going to go over those again to some extent. The ingredients, what makes a song, how do you go about writing a song? It's still confusing to me. When I sit down to write a song, I might like this song that we're talking about. It was a yellow room with a crooked floor. It's just a snip, and I've got that idea in my head, and it might get kicked around for 5 years. It might get kicked around for 5 minutes. It might turn into a song quickly, or it just hangs around and you know, like a snowball gone down a hill, eventually grows and grows and grows, and I'm standing down at the bottom of the hill, and it just bowls me over, and there's a song. So if we sit down to write a song, and we touched on this before, it's almost like writing a short story, writing a novel. There's a beginning, a middle, some stuff happens, there's an ending, and it takes you on a journey. And that can be said both for a song that doesn't even have lyrics. An instrumental song can take you on a trip somewhere, just as one can with lyrics. It literally tells a story. That said, there are questions you have to ask in terms of what is the topic that the song is going to be about. Where, what, when, how, why, all of those things. What is this song going to be about? And for this particular song, we've got that first snippet of a lyric, so this song is going to have lyrics. It's going to tell a story. It'll have a beginning, a kind of middle, and an end. It'll have a setting, where this is taking place. It'll tell a little story, hopefully. And so that one of these ingredients is, and I don't even know if we're going over the same things that we talked about in the last video, because like I said, I didn't really review it. But if if we do go over the same things or we add a couple extra ingredients, that's all good. And of course we might be missing some ingredients here, so feel free to leave comments. Anyway, the topic, you have to know what the song's going to be about. That gets into the mood and the feel of things too, which is kind of another ingredient. An instrumental song even will have a feeling to it, a mood. A waltzy song, a waltzy classical song will get your feet moving, and a minor dark song with no lyrics will get you spooked, get you spooked up, etc. And you might have just heard a little barky bark. This is our little star Shih Tzu. Are you a Shih Tzu or a Shih Tzu? This is a Shih Tzu Bella, and she's featured in Blues Licks, in the Blues Licks videos. Say hi, double five, hello. Anyway, do you know how to write a song, Belle? Do you know how to write a song? Can you tell them? Just bark, go ahead. Another key ingredient would be the melody. Melody is an important one for me. I'm not a real fan of non-melodic music. A lot of current music that you listen to that gets streamed out there somewhere, it's words based on glued onto rhythms or rhythmic sentences with very, very little melody, if any. So I'm real fond of melody. That's why, like the Beatles or bands like that have a lot of beautiful melodies, clever melodies with neat chord changes, things like that. I'm fond of that, and I try to work some of that into songs that I write, rather than just a, la 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 la, your canned type of song. And speaking of lyrics, how do the lyrics? You have to work with how the lyrics fit into the chunk of music that you're working with, the phrases, the spaces, the spaces, the phrases, the spaces, from note to note, from word to word. That's an important detail, and a lot of melodies get written or vice versa. A lot of words get written to the melodies, depending upon how the words fit in a chunk of time. It's hard to explain. I'll give some examples in a little bit. But that's melody, lyrics, all of this is kind of tied together. Yeah, you have also the type of song. When you sit down to write a song, is it going to be a reggae song? Is it going to be a song with a Latin feel? When I had the Mr. Vague band, back in the late 80s, early 90s, we had a female singer named Valerie, and so there were some songs that I specifically wrote for her to sing. Jamaican Maid, for instance. Love Canal was kind of a song that sounded better with a female voice. So do you have a female singer? Do you want it to be a reggae song? Do you want it to be a jazz song, a blues song? A straight rock and roll type song? Is it going to be, are you going to have a brass section in it or strings? Is it going to be acoustic, have an acoustic feel to it, or a hard electric feel? Or all of those different variables come into play when you're trying to write a specific song. Now for this purpose, it was a Yellow Room with a Crooked Floor song. It is a folky kind of song. Acoustic guitar. There might be some other ingredients or there may be some other instruments that we'll you know, put on different tracks as the song develops, but initially it's just going to be acoustic guitar and vocal. And another ingredient would be, of course, the rhythm, the time signature. Is it going to be a 4/4 straight ahead song? Is it going to be waltzy like a 3/4? Is it going to be some odd or different type time signature? Will it have multiple different changes in it? That how the words and the music are going to fit over the rhythm is an important ingredient. Now, in terms of how the music, or how the lyrics fit the music, or how, it's hard to explain how the words fit into the chunk of music that you're writing, and how that develops. I'll use a couple of examples. I mean, we'll revert back to the Beatles, and this is really a general. It's not just the Beatles. I mean, this is what people do when they write songs. You have chords, you have notes, you have scales, and you've got the rhythm and everything else that we talked about. But you've got to put that all together, which is the hard part. And the Beatles, they did, as well as the way other people do it, they did a couple of different things. They were crafty with their melodies. We'll take a song like a single chord like the C chord. What the Beatles did on a few songs, take Please Please Me, they just worked, the verses are right off of, I think that song's in the key of E, but the verse itself is right out of the E major scale. And if you go down an E major scale, last night I said these words, so it goes right down the E major scale, and it's the notes that are in the scale, and that is the melody, which is pretty cool, I think. They're using just the chord, the scale, the major scale, and they write a beautiful melody. A Christmas Carol that would be an example. I'm not sure what key it's in, but Joy to the World, kind of, you know. And that's right there in C, you know, joy to the world, da, 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 ba. That's a melody right out of a chord, right out of a scale. And they did that, the Beatles did that with a couple of songs. They did it, several songs. Ticket to Ride is if I think I'm gonna be sad, right out of an A chord, right out of an A major scale. So keep that in mind when you're putting the song together. So that's a chord and a scale and a melody embedded in there as a part of it. I hope I'm explaining that correctly, or in a way that y'all can understand. And another way of looking at this is that's a single chord. I think I'm gonna be sad, I think it's today. Okay? You can't hold on that one. You can, but the song has to move somewhere. You're going to throw in another chord. So if we're working with two chords, then you've got to fit the words to go from one chord to the other. And that too. So you're heading somewhere. A lot of songs you'll hear a D to or C to a D chord, you know, and you'll always hear this type of melody. Da 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 da. Or inverted type of da 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 da. That's typical stuff, typical melody. So what the Beatles did in a song like Ticket to Ride, on the one section of it, she's got a ticket to ride, she's got a ticket to ride, she got a ticket to ride. They take one phrase and put it over, I mean, and this is why the Beatles were real crafty. Most folks would, she's got a ticket to ride, she's got a ticket to ride, she's got a ticket to ride, she don't care. Most folks would just put it over two chords and you're fine. But the Beatles, they take things a step further usually, and they get something like this with just a single phrase. They get something like, she's got a ticket to ride, she's got a ticket to ride, she's got a ticket to ride, and she don't care. So they expand on the music over a simple phrase, which is, I think, is really cool. Most folks don't do that. So that's an extra spicy ingredient to add to songwriting, something to keep in mind. And our keyboardist that was in the Mr. Vague band, Jeffrey, him and I used to have these conversations about the comparison between Zappa and the Beatles. I was a Beatles fan then. I liked Frank Zappa a lot. He dismissed the Beatles and was an avid Zappa fan. He always thought the Beatles were too cheesy, too corny, too much lovey-dovey. If you look at a lot of the stuff that Zappa does in songwriting, he takes a phrase too, and he might drill it down to the individual syllables and create a melody. And I don't know how he used to write songs or his method, what it was. But there's songs like At St. Alfonso's Pancake Breakfast, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, where each syllable of a song takes on a different note sometimes, and takes off on a different wavelength, out into far reaches of outer space sometimes with Zappa, what again was really cool. Other songs, and along the same line I should say with Zappa, a song like Oh No, each word was a note that bounced around along the staff. Oh no, I don't believe it, do 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 do. And you can see that he does a lot of the rhythm and the melody based on the sentence structure, the words. At least that's my take on Zappa. He did a lot of songs and chunks of songs that were the words make up the melody, or they fit into that space of a song in such a way that it seems like it's based on the words themselves. So that's an interesting thing to think about when you're writing songs, and how you can put those ingredients that we just talked about all together.
I think the fundamental concept that Mr. Vague is hovering around in trying to explain this concept of creating a song and music in general. If you look at the birds, each bird has a little song, and the song, the little tweet, fills up a space in time. Some birds do a tweet, 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 tweet. Other birds, like a woodpecker, just peck at the wood. But even if it's just pecking at the wood, making a rhythmatical type of tune, it's still a song. It fills a void. It fills that space and time. And this is the fundamental concept that Mr. Vague is trying to trying to explain, I believe. And these different types of tweets coming from the birds, the songbirds, birds of prey, all different types of birds. Geese flying overhead in chevron flight. These are all songs. Now, some songs can be complex, like a Frank Zappa type of a song. Others can be a simple, beautiful melody, maybe like If I Fell by the Beatles, or the songs that Mr. Veg explained, Ticket to Ride, Please Please Me, following that chord scale. But it's important to realize, too, that Frank Zappa and the Beatles, a lot of these musicians and songs take the same, they do the same thing. Oh no, I don't believe it is following notes in space, filling the void. Okay? The Beatles do the same thing with their song. It's just that some musicians, some songwriters fill the void this way, others fill that space this way. And some people like that type, some people like this type, etc., etc. I think that's what Mr. Veg's trying to explain here. I hope that helps.
Why don't you all just wake me up when it's over? Oh.